Alrighty, guys, welcome back. Another week, another few little changes in the last week or so for the channel and things like that, and a bit more supports coming through. Just going to touch on a couple of the things we've got going now. Is obviously we've got the YouTube channel, so the League of Inches. We've also got the Insta page, Instagram, which has been getting quite a few likes the last week or so. So that's gaining a bit of traction, which is good. And
Wait. I got to stop you there.
hold on,
I got to stop you there.
hold on.
I got to stop you there. I'm just going to add something here. I said, Valandis, I'm going to shout you a bevy.
Hey.
Cheers, Mr. Valandis, for keeping our game strong, surviving.
There we go.
Cheers.
Having a beer with Peter, Sir Valandis, we call him, and as you can see, Sid's got a nice haircut there. So, but yeah. As I was saying, just Insta's going well, and the big thing over the last couple of days, we've got Facebook now as well. So there's a Facebook page, and that's already quickly gained over 50 likes over a couple of days, which has been pretty surprising, the support. So we thank everyone for that, and bigger and better things are coming. So. Hopefully a couple of players, things like that down the track. So I just want to start off with the hats off. So this is going to lean into our first tackle chat as well, but I'm going to do it from one side of things first. I'm going to go the Titans here. People are thinking, well, they lost on the weekend. It's nothing to do with that yet. Though I do think they are improving. We keep saying it. I think the signing of Fifita, that's my hats off, to land a big fish like him for a club that everyone was saying is going so poor, and 6 months ago people were questioning if they're actually going to be surviving. So to pull off a signing like that for that club and the history that it's had is massive. It sets up them now to recruit a couple more bigger name players. I think they'll follow suit. Maybe a couple of Broncos players who are a bit over what's going on there at the moment. How do you like the signing there, Sid? From a Titans point of view, we will go into the Broncos side of it shortly, but from a Titans point of view.
Yeah, look, man, we've had conversations about Fifita. I rate him as the new raging bull, the next Gordon Tallis. I went into some detail as to how he beats defenders. Makes problems for defense. A defense that's seemingly set and in front of him, and he's so young as well, just incredibly strong. His feet is in the right place. His hands are in the right place. He's got the handling, he's got the endurance, the fitness. He wears the number 11. Everything is Gordon Tallis, and it's funny how poetic life is, and that Gordon Tallis has come out on Triple M and said that because he's something involved with the recruitment at Titans, as is Mel Meninga, as you know, so head of culture or something like that. And Gordon Tallis said, look, he had to talk to Fifita and convinced him, saying, I can take your game to the next level. Even the man himself, the great man, Gordon Tallis, the raging bull, he's taken his bloke under his wings. And on a side note, a little middle finger to the Broncos, because it was Seabolt in particular who blocked all the legends when they identified some struggles. They wanted to go to training, they wanted to talk to the boys, and Seabolt blocked them all out, as if you would. A club like that, a monster club like that. You have these guys around in the ear and reminding them what it means to wear that jersey. And he's feeling the pinch. And like I said, I think a little middle finger to Seabolt and the Broncos there as well by going to the Titans, and then they're gonna make him a powerhouse.
Yeah, I think so as well. And I think some big things you're pointing out there is the fact that they've had actually the chance to do that with the past players, things like that. Someone like Fifita obviously has a good relationship with Tallis, and if they let him in at the start of the year, they probably wouldn't have lost him. So now I guess this works us we're back to the tackle sets again after last week's mid-year review. So first tackle, it works into just the Broncos side of things now, and just in terms of their handling of this whole situation. Now, it's been going on for what seems like most of the year, this signing, but one thing for me is that to have someone in the class of Fifita, which I think anyone who watches rugby league knows he's probably going to be the next big forward in the comp, or if he isn't already. They prioritised all their other forwards basically before re-signing him. Now, if I was in Fifita's shoes, I'd just see that as a massive slap in the face, because I think I'm better than these guys. You've got, say, Tavita Pengai Jr., who gets suspended half the games and he plays. He's a loose cannon who doesn't really have that structure in his game that Fifita has. As you've already stated, Fifita can change a game with basically a couple of steps and things like that with his runs, and I haven't seen a forward do that for a long, long time. Haas, you can probably put a bit of a fight up there, saying him and Fifita are sort of on the same sort of level, guaranteed. But there's some other guys there like Flegler and things like that, where I just think the Broncos prioritise the wrong people at the wrong times, and it's come back to bite them. And you've got people like Tessie Niu now, who's looking like maybe coming over to the Titans as well, who is a mate of Fifita's. And it's going to be quite interesting how this turns out for the Broncos over the next couple of weeks and months with recruiting. I just think, as I've stated many times, the Broncos at the moment, there's just too many questionable calls going on at the moment. And for a club like the Broncos to now lose a player that they actually wanted to keep speaks massive volumes. People used to sign for less, especially their kids that they brought through. Now they're going up the highway an hour to go to a club that most people don't give them a chance to do much anytime soon. Yet they're doing that. So where are you seeing the Broncos in this sort of situation, Sid, and where are you at with it all?
Look, first I'll address the first part you were talking about, the contract thing. I want to add one player to that list. I'm pretty sure they threw a lot of money at what's his name, Matt Lodge.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, how far down the pecking orders for Fifita? Look what happened. It bit him in the arse. So I'm inclined to agree with your observation there. Maybe he saw it as, a little bit disrespectful or whatever. But having said that, does he want to stay there? Did he want to stay there? I messaged you when I was watching the NRL, Inside the NRL on the app, and Jamie Soward, you could tell that Soward has identified that Seabolt isn't the greatest coach. He mentioned more than once that he said, hypothetically, quote unquote, that maybe Fifita feels that Seabolt can't take him to the next level. And we know how highly rated Holbrook is, as new as he is. I mean, everyone's new at one stage, right? But he's signed. And what you were talking about with them players staying for less, that's the aura, and the aura's gone. I was still a headline from, I think it was the Queensland's major newspaper that said that the aura's gone for Brisbane. No one's dying to play for them anymore. Look, it's a mess that needs to be resolved. It's not just the on-field staff. It's not just banking, 5-year deal to an unproven contract while dumping a 6-time premiership winning coach. It's not just that. Blocking out the legends. It's not just that. There's more. There's some big problems there.
Massive problems. I think the final thing, I guess, on the Broncos at the moment, we've harped on them already quite a few times over the last few weeks, but it's for me, it's just massive worries. It's a huge thing where even some of the past players now are coming out and expressing their views on social media, things like that, and I just haven't seen it get to this ever for this club. It's like the same for, say, the Roosters and things like that. Those sorts of clubs, they just don't get to that situation. To be in that situation, it just speaks volume. Look, a point that Sid wants to make here on the second, just mentioned to you, his love of the 6 again rule, and he mentioned a couple of weeks ago about the mistakes, and I tell you what, I haven't noticed it so much since you've said it. So you're a bit Nostradamus and an Andrew Voss type in that, so to speak, but you actually noticed an issue with the 6 again, which I'm pretty keen to hear what you want to say.
Yeah, look, we've sung the praises, but there are two sides to every coin. We've talked about how the benefit of giving away a ruck penalty or whatever it is, it slows down the opposition, the attacking team, and you can have a dawdle with the ref and all this sort of thing. The 6 again means it negates that benefit, but there is one issue with it. It needs to be. I think it's one of those things that they're going to talk about, in a year's time or whatever. if a team's getting slugged with 6 again after 6 again after 6 again, the referee seems to be calling 6 again, but he doesn't have to explain what's it for.
Mm.
And how are these blokes going? You got to remember, they're rugby league players, they're young blokes. They might be not doing anything on purpose. They might just, might be an issue they're not aware of. So he needs to explain, or at least if there's say more than 3 in a row, he has to stop the game. I know it's opposite of what they're trying to achieve, but he has to stop and explain to the captain of the team that's copying it. Look, it's been 3 in the last 5 minutes. This is why, your blokes aren't rolling away or whatever. They're trying to climb over the ruck, or they're holding down, or the hand on the ball. Sometimes the coach do that and they do it a lot, and then they forget they're doing it. Stuff like that, right? That's the biggest issue. I think that's gonna rear its ugly head. I'll just, if I may, I noticed 3 games. The Titans copped several 6 again when they were in the mix against Penrith. Bulldogs copped in the second half 6 again after 6 again after 6 again after 6, and they just didn't know what to do, like to stop the rut. And Knights nearly snatched it at the end, as bad as the Knights were over the weekend. And the Dragons copped it as well, just 6 again after 6 again. And I was watching, I was like, you know what? I felt like turning it off. It was ridiculous. And the Dragons captain is not one of those that will go to the ref and nag him about it. Cam McGuinness is a nice guy. He just doesn't. He's not that type of captain to push for answers. And then they just seemed to keep rolling, and it felt like it was never going to end. Thankfully they did turn the tide and almost snatched it in the end. But it is still a problem, and I feel that teams are going to get frustrated soon, and someone's going to say something.
Yeah, I think so. And I think another thing that I want to work in with this tackle would be that I've noticed as well the pressure on the neck penalty is starting to increase quite a bit. And I think the main reason for this is actually, if you watch a forward or a player run in at the moment, what they're trying to do is they turn their back slightly to look for the offload and basically get a free tackle, so to speak, because you're not actually getting tackled. And I think a lot of players are getting caught in an awkward position with this, and it's increasing the penalty for this pressure on the neck, where I'd say I'd go as far as saying 7 out of 10 of them were actually accidental. I mean, the only one I've seen that looked fairly on purpose was probably the Packer one on the weekend. He looked like he actually tried to get the player into that position, which wasn't a good look, and I think he's been suspended accordingly for it. But for most of the other ones I've been seeing lately, it looks like it's been pretty much accidental, and because the attacking player is trying to get that to play the ball. And it's a bit of a dangerous one here, because we've seen some big injuries in the past. Down a few years ago with a couple of players with their neck injuries and things like that. Now, you do want to encourage the offloading and things like that, but there's a fine line there, because there's starting to become more and more of these neck pressure tackles. Have you noticed it as well, Sid?
Yeah, definitely. Look, the important thing to know is there was a period in time, if you go back maybe 4 or 5 seasons, when if somebody felt the slightest thing around here, they would lie down and get the penalty. The ref would go, "Oh, that's penalty." He didn't see it. He just assumed.
Yeah.
Now, the way, indirectly, I don't think the NRL planned it, but the way they eradicated it was with the HIA focus, massive HIA focus. If I'm going to lie down to get a penalty, I'm gone for 15 minutes to go do the test. Minimum 15 minutes. You're not allowed, even if you pass the test in the first minute, you still have to stay off, right?
Yeah.
So that stopped the lying down. But with the neck injuries, you see what I'm getting at? With these neck injuries, they're getting the penalty, but they don't have to go off and do the assessment.
Yeah.
They go like this, and they go, "Oh, yeah, bit of a burner." Yep, next thing you know, he does the next hit up of the penalty.
Yeah.
Yeah. Magic recoveries, So, yes, I agree 100%. They're turning it back. They're doing it on purpose for the offload or whatever it is. If they feel any sort of pressure, they will lie down. But there is some small instances where it's actually a very dangerous situation, but the rest is just milky or self-inflicted.
100%.
I just want to add one more thing.
Yeah.
Just want to add one more thing in regards to 6 again before we lose it. Before we go to the next tackle.
Yeah.
This is something that's been, grinding my gears for many years. When a ref gives a penalty for a rake or something like that, or the 6 again in this case, so they give a 6 again, on the last tackle. Now, as a rugby league player in here, why would I rake the ball when I know they're going to kick it to me now?
Yeah.
A lot of they don't have it between the refs. A lot of 99% of refs haven't touched footy in their life, and they don't understand. They don't have. No coincidence. The best ref we ever had was Bill Harrigan, and he played. He played in the country league. I think it was Group 7 or whatever it was, right? He played at the highest level in the country league, so he knows rugby league. He knows. And the point I'm making is, there were some 6 agains that I was talking about in those games I mentioned, those 3 games, on the last for raking the ball.
Yeah.
Why would they rake it? The players can't be that stupid. They know they're going to get the ball back. But yet 6 again, and then they just get slugged. And it just kills the game. Because they get fatigued and the other team just walks over and scores.
You're giving rugby league players a good rap there. I'll tell you what, I think some of them do have a few screw looses up the top there, so I wouldn't put it past a couple of them.
Well, I mean, look, I give them the benefit of the doubt, especially if the coach is onto them. If I'm a coach and my player rakes the ball on the last, I'll say, hey, what are you doing? It's the last tackle. And in training, every time it's last, I'll yell at him, hey, it's the last, don't forget. They do things silly. Yeah. The infringements should get less and less. From the first tackle, you try and wrestle, try and hold down. As the tackles go on, it should get less and less because you're getting closer to getting the ball back, theoretically. But the refs just call anything, Yeah. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think I do agree with the strip penalty. I think there's sometimes though, and I've seen a couple of times with some para players, and I start abusing the TV because of it. Some of them are a bit lazy in terms of the ruck. Now, if it's the last tackle, if I'm the defender, I'm rolling 5 meters away from the ruck. I'm not giving them any chance. I don't care if I don't get to be a marker. I have noticed a few of those penalties have started to come into play where on the 4th or 5th teams are just basically staying there. I don't know why you are. You're about to get the ball back. So it's a bit stupid, but I can understand what you're saying with the strip side of things because that's definitely a thing that doesn't make sense. I don't think a player would be dumb enough to strip a ball when they're about to receive it, but some of them are dumb enough to lay on the ruck at the same time. So who knows? It's 50-50. So I'll move on to third tackle here, and I've got a positive and a negative I want to talk about in this situation. It's regarding the Bulldogs, and we were pretty critical of them last week, and they came back out on the weekend and actually played a good game of footy. We both called an upset was on the cards, and it seemed to be the case. There seemed to be a wet weather sort of get down and dirty sort of team, and that conditions just suited them to a T. Now, there's one player I want to point out and give massive credit to, which I think this year he's actually been quite good and hasn't received any of the credit yet, which would be Kieran Foran. And I think, especially on the weekend, he was like an on-field coach for him. He just seemed to be able to put the ball where it needed to go, put players where they needed to run and go. And he was just always that guy. It was back in his sort of heyday, where in his heyday he was more of a runner, where at the moment he's been that Cooper Cronk type figure for the Dogs, where Cooper Cronk was for the grand final for the Roosters, where he's that on-field coach, and the Dogs really need that. What they do need now, though, is a half to complement that who can get on the front foot and polish off the sets, because their last tackle options a lot of the time the other day were pretty poor. It's got to be said. So now the negative to it, and I'll get thoughts on your Sid for both of these. The negative for me, it's not really on the Bulldogs, because I actually think this was handled well by them, but it's about how the players actually handled this, which would be that Corey Harawira-Naera, I just call him CHN because I don't even know how to pronounce his name, but he got sacked from the club because of obviously what happened at the start of the year, and most league supporters know about the picking the girls up from the school and things like that. We won't go into it, and I don't want to deal with it. So They lost their major sponsor just before kick-off of the season, the Bulldogs, which was massive. They've been playing blank jerseys for the whole season so far, and they just put them back again they lost 2 players, 2 fairly good players, which would have been in their run-on team because of this. Now, his CHN has come back and decided to kick up stones because of how he was treated. Yet, hang on a second, you're the one that did the wrong thing in the first place. Anyone with, we were just talking about earlier, two marbles upstairs would know, as a public figure, you don't go to a school and pick up people that are just asking for trouble. It's got trouble written all over it. Now, for mine, I would have loved to see him stay at the Dogs, repay him for, look, I apologise for what I did. He was actually one of their best players last year. A lot of people probably remember how good he was. Instead, he's kicked up stones, pretty much made the Dogs look like they're the bad guys in this situation, which isn't the case. And now he's already off at the Raiders, and I've seen him in Raiders gear today, and I think he's actually playing this weekend for him. So to me, it doesn't sit right, and I think the NRL should have had a bit more of a say in this. It's one thing where I think they may have dropped the ball, which hasn't happened much recently. What are your thoughts on the Dogs at the moment and that situation, Sid?
Yeah, so look, I'll start with your positive. With Foreign, the performance, I agree, I saw that. He was all over the place. I think it was a byproduct of what Georgalis did when the Dogs played the Dragons the week before. I don't know if you noticed, Foreign, he put in a kick against the Dragons, and he got tackled, and then, he was like wincing like he got hurt, right? And that's fine, it happens. Kickers get tackled. Sometimes they get a penalty if it's pretty bad, If it's a legit tackle, it's play on. Then a bit later, he actually was grabbing his head or something, right? He got that shoulder from Sims, that's right.
Yeah.
Got a shoulder from Sims. And then a bit later, he had some issue and he called the trainer, waved the trainer over. What happened? It was something got to his toe and he was wincing again. And the coach, all right, so he's got his head knocked. He's been tackled on the kick, and then now his toe's hurting him, right? So the coach has taken him off. He had to do the HIA. Now, I don't know if you listened to the commentary carefully, he passed the HIA, but Georgalis left him on the bench. Yeah, Georgalis left him on the bench. I have a feeling the game was in the balance, and Dogs ended up losing on the bell, as you know, the Dragons won, right? I have a feeling Georgalis has gone, this guy, look, you got to toughen up, mate. You're a senior player. And he's passed the HIA, but still left him. And he may have had a chat to him during the week. Listen, you're a senior player. You're on the most money of any player as well. If you're fanning about playing for us, you need to toughen up. This is your job. You work 80 minutes a week. It's not hard.
Yeah.
Toughen up. Get in. And you saw what Foreign did. I know he's not as quick as he used to be, but he was certainly tackling like he used to.
Yeah.
It was a couple of times they tried to isolate him, and he put the bloke on his ass, and then he did it again and again, and I was like, "Whoa, okay." I really think he got a word from Georgalis, particularly when he was sitting on the bench. The game was in the balance. He's pretty much going, "All right, I'm right. You can put me back on now." I think it was a smart. I really do think that Georgalis did that. As far as Haru Nara, I'll keep it short. I don't think he deserved more suspension, but I don't think he deserves to just go to another team and sign up after he screwed over his club and major sponsor. I think it was $500,000 for the front of the jersey.
Yeah.
If I read it right, that's not good enough. I agree with you. I think NRL should just told him you need to suck it up. You can stay with your club, or you can sit out of the season. It's up to you. Raiders wouldn't argue. They're probably the only team that wouldn't argue because they're dropping troops for fun. But it doesn't sit right with me. Doing that stupid stuff, screwing over the club, and then just leaving them high and dry. And then they lost, like you said, their best player last year, a quality player.
Yeah, exactly. Fourth tackle at the moment, and we're going back on to something that you want to talk about, Sid, of the protection of the little guy. We're seeing him coming back in the game at the moment, and you want to see a bit of protection for him.
Yeah, look, I remember towards probably the last year that Thurston had a really good year, because the year after that, he went downhill a little bit. There was much publicised talk about Thurston copping the late hits and getting roughed up and all this stuff, and it's great. That's where it all starts, trial by media, I call it, and that's where it all starts. The public sees it, a few media outlets put it out there, and then all of a sudden, if anything happens to Thurston after he kicks or late hit after he passes, a couple of times he got hit by a truck, cheap shots, which rightfully I agree 100%. All right, he got protected, and there was penalties, and there was 10 in the bin, and all this stuff that happened. I think we need that again. I'm going to say there's 2 players that I can think of off the top of my head. At the risk of seeming biased, Callum Ponga, he's been roughed up the last few weeks, and I think it would be good if they protect him a little bit. He's a precious commodity of the game. You know, unions after him. Whether they got any money left is another matter. Whether they can afford him, but you know, he's a good image for the game. You know, he's one of those. He's going to be another Benji Marshall. Kids are going to want to play like him, and you know, and be like him. You know, and we need to protect him. And the biased part is Matt Duffy. He got roughed up over the weekend. He's now hit some form. He's got some attention, and he's getting cheap shots. Like a couple of times, the Sharks put a grubber in. The ball was dead. He might have tapped it over, and then he got pushed in the back into the signage. You know.
Yeah.
And the first time he didn't react. The second time he's like, "This is ridiculous." And I thought, where's the ref? Where's the ref to say to the guy, "Hey, what are you doing?" Like that's not even in play. I'm not talking about a late hit after he offloaded or you know after he kicked it. That's not even in play. Just out and out cheap shot from cheap, dirty players that want to hit someone when he's not braced for impact, and he went flying. You know, 2-3 times that happened, and then Duffy took exception to it. You know, I just think all the little guys need to be protected. It's very, very important because we're seeing a re-emergence of the little guy, but we may not have any little guys because anyone, myself included, if they have a son or daughter that's small for that matter, I'm not going to put him in rugby league. I'm not, because he's going to get trampled, you know? Yeah. And then if I see on TV, Dufty's getting knocked around, and my little bloke who's a little bit quick and loves the game, he's going to end up like that with no protection. I'm not going to put him in. I'll put him in the soccer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a very, very important, crucial time. Now, the little guys are back in the game. Let's look after them.
I like that. I think in regards to the little guy and the target players like your Pongers and things like that, I think we've got to go back onto the coaches because it's clearly a coaching tactic of the opposition team to get at these players and rough them up a bit. And hopefully it's like you remember back in the day, they used to send people out and you'd name your 21st player to go out there for the first 2 minutes and literally just take off the halfback's head. You'd know he's about to get sin bin or send off or something, but you go, you know what? You take your couple of weeks suspension for the team. We need to get rid of this halfback. And I think sometimes, especially with key players like your Pongers at the moment, I think it's not as harsh as what it used to be. Obviously, people aren't trying to take people's heads off, but they're trying to get in some corks and things like that just to rough people up and the odd step on the hand, stuff like that, which is just, it is rugby league and things like that. That's true. But I think the game's got to the point now where it's a showpiece. It's putting on for the fans. It's entertainment, and we're going to make sure those sorts of players can have a bit of room, which these rules are trying to do, where we can showcase those skills and things like that. Which when it happens, it's actually beautiful to watch. So. A fantastic point there made, and 100% agree with you. So, fifth tackle, which is obviously a big one this week. The thoughts of Sonny Bill Williams coming back to the NRL for it looks like to be about a 6-week period. It's, you know what, everyone's going on about this in the media like it's the best thing in the world to happen, and I'm actually going to come at it from the actual total opposite. I actually don't like it at all. I don't like the fact it's the Roosters. I don't like the fact that he's coming back into the game and breaking what the rules already are set up in place with players can't have 2 contracts at once going. It's all of a sudden breaking it for a guy to come in and play 6 weeks for a team that has now come back to the pack a little bit with a few injuries, which it's all about your roster management. So I feel like you're now rewarding them for poor roster management by having so many high capped star players in the team to then go, yep, no worries, Sonny Bill's free, here you go. I would have liked it a lot better if you went to, say, the Dogs or the Warriors and helped one of the bottom table teams just come up a little bit, help them with training for the rest of the year and build a lot of the young players up. He's an Islander, and a lot of young Islander players love him, can understand why. He's a freak, but it just doesn't sit right with me. It doesn't sit like – and for me, for the Roosters' point, for once, I actually find this showing a little bit where – I would have liked to see them bring in a youngster for the next few years, for the next half a year, while you've got some of those players out where, to me, it tells me they're not got much trust in their younger players at the moment. They're trying to bring in a guy he's 36. Let's not forget that. He's 35, 36, and his better years, you'd have to say, are behind him. I watched him play at the Wolfpack the start of the year, and he looked quite a bit off the pace, if I'm being honest. So for me, I don't necessarily like it. I don't know if I've missed any points or if you're liking the signing, Sid, but where are you sitting on this?
Man, look, before I go into it, let me tell you, I see Sonny Bill as a rare and supreme talent and an athlete. He had all the gifts, he had the right attitude, and in terms of training and whatever else, and the discipline is ridiculous. And he's able to make a fist of pretty much any sport he tries. You know, he's done it in league, he's done it in union, he's done it in heavyweight boxing. All the respect in the world there. But I agree, and I was going to say, and you saw me give you the thumbs up when you said bringing a young bloke in. So what if the Roosters have injuries? So what? Why are they special? Every team gets injuries. Every team has a lean year where things don't go so great. Get a young bloke in there. You know what? You're not going to make a grand final for the first time. You know, it just reeks of Roosters and do whatever they want. You know, I agree 100%, and I did message you as well. And I said the only way I'll be happy with this is if he goes to the Warriors. They've got players that are going home to see their family. They're losing players every week. If he goes there, there'll be a bit of fanfare. His game will definitely rate on TV. Whatever tickets allocation will get sold out because, it becomes a novelty thing. It also becomes, people will like it more, I think, because it's a nice gesture to say, and, he could, on his first signing, he could say, I'm here to help the Warriors. I'll just help repay them what they've done. I've been following the league, something like that. But no, he wants to go to Roosters.
The other thing that I don't like is that, let's say other thing is Sonny Bill. Let's say he gets here tomorrow or Thursday, whenever he's supposed to get here. He goes into his 14-day quarantine, so he's going to miss 2 or 3 games depending on how the Roosters' schedule looks. Then he has to go into training and be with the team for another 2-3 weeks, 4 weeks maybe. So he's not looking at getting a run until around 17, 18 or something. So that's 2-3 weeks before finals. Now, who's to say in this next 6 weeks for the Roosters, your Nat Butcher or your Tupanui, who's playing there at the moment? Those two are playing that sort of role. Who's not to say if they don't go off now, they start playing a few good games, which Tupanui, I've really liked how he's been playing. I think he's one of those players that has the capability of doing that. What does that say to those guys where he comes back into it after they've had a few killer rounds, so to speak? It just, for me, for once, it's got me questioning the Roosters a little bit. I think it's just a little bit of favouritism, I guess, with them. And you've also got to remember they actually also signed Josh Boris mid-year as well. So they've had a couple of big-name recruits in the mid-year to bolster that roster, and it doesn't seem right to me, if I'm being honest. And I don't like how it sits. Not at all. The sixth tackle, we'll go to a little point that I've actually wanted to make for a few weeks now, but haven't been able to make room for with so many things going on in this great game of ours. I've noticed that the fringe players, so you've got a squad of 30, 35 most teams, and then you've also got your development players, things like that. Now, all the competitions have pretty much been on pause and lockdown and haven't been able to resume, and you've got most clubs have 20, 25 players sitting there doing nothing at the moment each week, and you see when the games are on, a massive bunker type situation. They're all sitting there together and with their jackets on, things like that. Now, what I would like to see, obviously it's getting a bit later now, but I would have liked to see, and I guess you could probably still do a little mini comp something like a nines comp or something for these players to come in, and they're all training together, so they're already in the bubble. It's not going to change with that sort of setup and what the rules are at the moment, and have a little nines comp on before each game for the same two clubs that are playing. So you could have like a Parramatta Nines team versus a Dragons 9 team before the main game is on. So it gives the crowd a little bit to watch as well. It's pretty boring. I went to a game on the weekend. It gets pretty boring at the start. So there's nothing on. You're sitting in an empty stadium. But just it also gives them guys something to work towards and build up a bit of match fitness, because I think we've seen a lot of injuries this year where match fitness and things like that are coming into it. And a lot of these guys that are coming in are very underdone. What do you think of the fringe players at the moment, Sid?
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree 100%. It's going from doing nothing to first grade football in the toughest comp in the world, in the toughest game in the world. 0 to 100. That's how strains happen. A lot of those strain injuries. Fatigue will also come into play as well if they do play extended minutes when they come in, particularly outside backs, because they don't get rotated so much. So it is an issue. I really like your nines idea. You're way too young to know, but I'm going to give something. What I'm about to tell you, I'm going to give you something to compare it with. Have you heard of the Panasonic Cup?
Yeah, Parramatta were very good at it.
Yeah. So it was actually a Wednesday night comps, mid-season knockout comp, similar to FA Cup in England.
Okay.
Right? In the soccer. So I reckon, either before the games or midweek, have a little knockout comp for these guys. Nines is a great idea because you don't need so many players. But if you have enough to do a knockout comp, I think that will gain some win. There'll be extra TV money too. When you get TV money, you get exposure. The signs, the sponsors on the signs get exposure. There's certainly some money in it, and the benefit is obviously the players, get some fitness. I just something needs to be done. I know we're in unprecedented times with this pandemic, but yeah, I'm sure they can think of something. That they've come this far. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I think they need to do something, and I was just surprised that I get the first couple of weeks coming back from COVID, they were a bit worried. They were trying to make the game get back into it, but I think after a little bit and having such high figures up in some of those top end jobs, you should have been able to see that there was a big sticking point there, and there was something that needed to be done. You can't just play in-house training session games; it doesn't seem to work. So, unless you're the Dragons at the start of the year and your reserve grade team was beat your first grade team, but we've already spoke about that, and we won't go on back to that. But it helps me go into the next part of things, which is obviously our predictions side of stuff and a few games to look at. And the first one is, I think you guys play Thursday night, is it? You guys play South Thursday night. So, look, obviously, before I get into the prediction for this, which I'm finding quite hard to tip at the moment because I know Latrell's back for South, but I haven't really liked what I've seen from them, and I actually liked what I've seen from the Dragons on the weekend. Something that I'm surprised Sid has been able to stay so cool and composed about so far in this video. He's wanted to explode. If we did this last night, I know he was ready to explode. The bunker and basically the turning point of the game, some would say last weekend against the Sharks, where you could see, blind Freddie could see that Dufty got his hand to the ball, but yet a try was awarded, and you guys had the run of the play at the time and you're on the front foot. I know it was fairly early in the game still, but it's little calls like that can change a game and change the run of play. So I can see that side of things. It's not good for a bunker to be, especially when we've been told the main reason the bunker came in was to get 99.9% of decisions correct and to quicken up the process of checking this as well, which I don't think either of those has happened yet to date. I think more mistakes are getting made as we go, which is concerning, and they're actually taking longer to look at some of the most basic no try or tries that we can see at home straight away. So, but the other thing was that I can see that the decision didn't necessarily lose it for the Dragons either at the time. As I know that with this problem with the Dragons is when you're on a losing streak that they used to be on, they got used to losing. As soon as one or two key decisions go against you, you can easily switch back off to losing mode, and you can go, oh, the ref's against us today, it's not going to happen for us, and you sort of throw your toys out of the cot, so to speak. Now, I think they sort of did that a little bit on the weekend. Sharks started to get a few tries quickly on the board, and then the Dragons came back in the second half and went, all right, let's make a game of this. But I'd like to know your thoughts as a Dragons fan. I'm going to tip I'm actually going to tip the Dragons this week for an upset. I think they're going to be backs against the wall type thing, and I think they're getting South at a good time. How about you, Sid?
Look, I think it's going to be backs versus forwards. The Dragons have better forwards, I think, and South have better backs. But look, I'm not overly confident because something, I don't know if you have thought of this or taken this into consideration before you made your tip, or any tips for that matter, but it's Indigenous round. So that means Latrell and Cody Walker, and guys like Alex Johnson, they're going to be firing. They're going to be fired up. It may be actually the thing that South's needed to wake up,
Changing my tip.
That, you can't. Sorry?
I'm changing my tip.
Yeah. I was going to say, look, having said that, you can't manufacture form overnight, Yeah. It's been so long since they've strung 3 passes together. They've been that bad and that disappointing. But yeah, I'm leaning towards Souths. As much as I'd like the ref to carry us the same way they carried the Sharks last week to give a bit of a square up, but I don't think so.
Look, I can't go past this game without letting you have 30 seconds about the decision last week. Come on, give us something. You've been wanting to. Come on, give us 30 seconds.
Oh mate, look, the bottom line is that they rushed it for whatever reason, and sometimes they rush and sometimes they take too long. We've had one of our tackles in recent weeks talking about how long they take. This time they rush it and then they stuff it up. There's been revelations, which is, I'm speaking calmly now. There's been revelations that apparently the camera that showed that Dusty grounded it first, the bunker doesn't have access to. Foxtel owns the rights to that. Some crap like that. Then there's another story going around saying that they're going to get rid of the bunker. So you're defending them or you're going to bin them. I don't even know. All I know is they don't know what they're doing. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I'll give you 3 letters: RBT.
Oh well, let's move on from that because he's starting to get fired up again, and I think we need to move on. The second game I want to talk about is the Broncos and Sharks, and for mine, this is a game that can go either way. It's one of those games where once again, can the Broncos get something? This could be one of the games they look at and go, you know what, we need to win 5 out of 10. This could be one of the ones that we do win. But I think Townsend out for the Sharks is a big loss. But for mine, Johnson's been showing some rare form lately. He's come back to almost his vintage best, and he's really on the front foot playing well. So I think they can actually offset the loss of Townsend quite a lot. It won't be as big of a loss as it has been in the past, I don't think. For mine, the Broncos in there, their selections are just mystifying. I don't know, if you're a fan of the Broncos, I don't know how you're doing it still. I've got to take my hat off to you guys because I don't even support the Broncos. And each Tuesday I look at the team list. This week, Boyd's a fullback. Now, I've voiced this during the week on one of the platforms on Facebook, and I put a comment there, and it ended up getting like 30, 40 likes or something. Was that people seem to forget Boyd was a fullback last year or a little bit before that, and people wanted him out of the position quicker than Usain Bolt could run 100 meters because he was getting very poor at it. He was not committed with his defense. Now everyone's coming out saying he's the best defensive fullback in the game and things like that. That was the main reason he got sacked from the fullback position to start with. Milford had to go there last week. Wasn't his best game, granted. For mine, either drop Milford out of the team. Now they've moved him back to 5'8", Boyd to fullback. I don't get it. And I quickly wrote down a couple of names. I looked in their squad because I thought there's got to be people there that can do the job better than these guys. Now, a couple of outside backs I didn't know that had signed was Jesse Arthur's for one, if people remember, he was a young player at the Titans at the time. He's come over to the Broncos. He's in the 21-man squad this week, but he's player 21. For mine, he's first grade quality, and he could be easily a fullback. He's played there in the past. You've got Isaiah Peresi, who is also a young gun for the Broncos, who can't make the team at the moment for who knows what reasons. Last year, everyone had massive raps on him there at the Broncos, and a guy that keeps going in and out of first grade, which is obviously Asako. And yes, granted, he hasn't been great, but for mine, this year now needs to be a time where they get the youngsters in and just let them run around and play with each other for the next 10 weeks and say, look, if we get some wins, we get some wins. If we don't, let's just build on it for next year. I'm going to tip the Sharkies because of the Johnson factor. How about you, Sid?
Yeah, look, the Sharks are gonna, not just Johnson. They've got impressive go forward. While Fifita, and this is where our video last week, our mid-season review, kind of started cutting out. So what I was saying was, while Fifita's gone a little bit down from that top 2 or 3 forwards in the world, you have Heyman Ueli, who's Fifita 2.0, Andrew Fifita this is. You've got Royce Hunt, and you've got 2 others, these big buffaloes.
Toby Rudolph.
Toby Rudolph as well.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're feeding him at Dingo, but didn't they get done for peptides a few years ago? Wow. These guys, it's just one after the other, and they do run out of steam, but when they roll, as soon as they roll, they spread it out to Johnson and co, and it creates something. As soon as they get the defense going backward, by the time Johnson gets the ball, the defense is still backtracking, and he just loves that. That's heaven for him. So they're just doing that. They're hitting them with the 1, 2, 3, 4 after each other. These buffaloes, I'll call them buffaloes. They're just like that thick. Their chest is like that thick. They're just huge. They're so hard. You can't get your arms around them when you try to tackle them, right? And yeah, their go forward is really impressive. I was worried they were going to hurt us, and they did, against the Dragons. And I don't think it's the type of team that the Broncos can bounce back from. As far as your young blokes, I will say this very, very short statement. You said that some are first grade quality, a couple of them are next big thing. Isako, on his best day, he's a good player. He's just down on confidence. Top goal kicker as well. Let me just say, they can't be worse than what they have now. Give them a run.
Yeah, 100%. Manly and Penrith, the next one, and I think this is a danger game for Penrith. I actually didn't think Penrith were that good on the weekend, and you mentioned some of the refs' calls against the Titans, and especially the second half. It looked like it was a gift to get Penrith out of trouble for a game, and I actually really like what the Titans were doing to Penrith on the weekend. I think Manly can do it even better, the style of play. And they're back at Brookie. And for mine, Penrith are looking due for a loss. They're sort of getting to that point where each team does. You get to the high point, you go, yep, there's not much further up we can go here. And I think they're there. They're right there. And I'm going to tip Manly at Brookie. What are you doing, Sid?
Yeah, I'll go with Manly. What happened with Titans is they had them on the ropes. They just couldn't find that knockout punch. They were almost nervous. They really shook up Penrith. Penrith are missing Dylan Edwards. We've talked about that before. Api Coruscant, I don't know if he's back this week or next week. And then they lost.
Kikau.
They lost one. Who was it?
Kikau.
They lost Kikau, of course. How could I forget? The monster edge, the best, left-sided edge player in the comp.
Yeah.
So devastating. So I think Manly, if they put in the same position that the Titans were, they'll take the game, and I think they're going to win this one.
Yeah, 100%. And the last game I want to have a quick chat about would be Storm v Knights. Now, not as in for the predictions, because I think Storm will do this and quite comfortably, but I want to also talk about it from a last week's point of view. And for my question is, did the Knights season just end and erupt in a 5 minutes of footy where they lost both hookers? What are your thoughts there, Sid? I can't see him doing much from here on in.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you know this about me, but I'm a big fan of hookers. Right? We've had quite a few talks about the cheap hookers and the quality of hookers coming in. the mainstay, the big names that we already have. We're in an era of plethora, I should say, of good hookers. Knights have lost three. Knights have lost three. Cheap ones, yeah. With the Bailey, they lost Brady, Jada Brady.
Yeah.
They lost McCulloch, and then Connor Watts. Poor Watson, man. He's a good player. He's a jack in the box. He's actually a jack in the box like Josh Reynolds, but less angry and more skillful. But he just can't stay on the park, poor guy. So he's injured again, snapped his Achilles, went down like a sniper. That's Achilles tendon, it's guaranteed surgery. It doesn't heal itself. Tendons don't heal themselves. So he's in for a very, very painful 6 months. But yeah, McCulloch was going so well, and he tore the hamstring off the bone. They couldn't be. Is this club cursed? Wow.
Yeah.
So bad. And that's curtains for them. Yeah. I have to agree.
Unfortunately, Knights, I don't think you can do too much more the rest of the season. Once again, Pearce is still overplaying his hand a little bit, and Ponga's not as involved as he should be. But that's it. That's another wrap up for the week, guys. And look, we've now got the Facebook page. We're going to start doing a couple of smaller videos as well, just a couple of 5-10 minute ones, and pick a topic. And we're happy to get viewers and stuff, opinions and what they want to hear and things like that. So just drop a comment, things like that on the videos of what you want to hear, and we can do either in one of the longer ones or we can do a quick one with it as well. And any quick things for the fans out there, Sid? I know you love your fans and you stopped regularly with selfies and questions.
Yeah, I have one fan. Look, just looking forward to the Indigenous round.
Yeah.
It should be good. It's always a good round every year. It's just looking forward to that. Don't forget, what it's all about. Closing the gap and all that.
Yeah.
Should be good.
I couldn't say it any better there. You stole my limelight. So on that note, guys, we will finish up this video. Keep safe. Enjoy the rest of your week and go your team on the weekend, but mainly Parramatta.